I accidentally clicked out of my live. Okay, I'll wait for people to join. Okay. Hello. Hello. Welcome. Just waiting for people to join, see if anyone else comes. Coffee time. I have my donut cup. Did someone say coffee? Yes. Okay. I'm just waiting to see if anyone else comes in. How do you like to have your coffee? I drink I like a lot of cream. I like the flavored cream. I know a lot of people think that's gross, but I drink it with hazelnut cream. Trying to find Malou. Oh, here we go. Just letting people come in if anyone else will be joining. All right, I'll go ahead and get started. I don't know why, but I guessed that you were gonna say hazelnut cream. You're psychic. Cold brew and heavy cream, yes. I like cold brew. Here's the sun I needed for my day. Thank you. Okay. Um, Hello from Northeast Ohio. Second, who is on first? That was said to be. Do you guys know the who's on first? I have my coffee black. A lot of people have their coffee black. I have a lot of friends that have their coffee black when they do drink coffee. That was said to be one of the greatest skits of all time. Who's on first? If that's what you were referring to, which I was assuming you were. Okay, so, well, first, before we really get into it, I want to talk about Alec Baldwin because I can't help myself. He's being sued, but not for why you would think he's being sued. So we'll talk about that first. The guy just cannot keep his mouth shut. It's unbelievable. But California has been in the news a lot, and we've been talking a lot about woke politics. And there's something called the Overton window. And, there's also been a lot of sad things that we've talked about. A lot of the crime, which we'll get into specifically because they have identified the person who murdered Brianna. Um, the increased crime, like all of these things, and a lot of these are just super progressive policies. Well, the Overton window, it's basically sort of like the way I would describe it is it's what's trendy in politics at the time, what a certain politician will campaign on, and what they'll back off on because it's what they think the public wants at the time. And I really think that for progressives, you didn't miss anything. I just started. We're talking about we're talking about the Overton window and how I think there is a silver lining in all of this sort of awful stuff that we're talking about. Because I think that is shifting. Overton Windex is the best username. Overton Windex. No, the Overton window. Overton Windex. Okay, I get it. Funny. But it's basically what's trendy in politics. And I think that, Democrat leaders and progressive politicians were using all of these woke politics to campaign on and to implement because in their little elitism world, in their little bubble, they think that's what the general public wants. And the way that they word things, criminal justice reform, teaching kids history through CRT, all of these things, they sound really, really good. But the issue is a lot of the public doesn't really understand how they're implemented. So when you actually implement these policies, they mean a lot of different things, and it's actually not what the public wants. And we're seeing the reality of those policies. I always say that California is the future. California, Seattle, Oregon are sort of the future of progressive America. You could even take, New York City. Hello. And it's not working. And people are seeing that, and it's getting so bad. You saw the images of the train tracks out of Los Angeles with all the discarded boxes. By the way, I just got a package from California, from Compton, which is in Los Angeles, and I was like, yes, it came. It's not on the side of the train tracks. So I was happy about that. But people are seeing these images, and regular people that might have voted these politicians in because they're like, oh, criminal justice reform. That sounds really good. Who doesn't want criminal justice reform? And now they're seeing the reality of that criminal justice reform. And unfortunately, with what just happened to Brianna, straight out of Compton, my package came. It was a credit card. I got a new Apple card, and it's very cool looking. With what happened to Brianna, I mean, this was just several weeks apart in Los Angeles. Brianna Kupfer, you had a 70-year-old nurse who was pushed down randomly by a homeless individual, and the way that her head hit the ground, she passed away in the hospital. So you had this happen. You had a 16-year-old girl who was dumped on the side of the road with a bullet wound. So you had all that happen. And that one actually didn't make the news. Really, the news didn't really pick up on that one until a few weeks ago. That one went under the radar. You should totally show us your Apple card, both sides. No, it doesn't have numbers on it, which I thought was kind of cool. So you can't get my credit card number even if I show it to you. What do you think of that starvation protest? What is that? Hold on. But I think that regular, normal people that otherwise would have been on board with these policies because they sound so good are now waking up. And a lot of Democrats are waking up. And I think the political tide, hopefully, I'm being optimistic, I think it's going to start to turn to more common sense politics. And I mean, listen to that. Where is it? I have so many news stories. So this was a recent Gallup poll. I don't know if you heard about this, but it's U.S. shifted from Democratic preference to Republican in 2021. And this is a Gallup poll. The political preference among Americans shifted from Democrat to Republican over the course of 2021. In the first quarter of last year, 49% of Americans say they identified as Democrat or lean Democrat. Or lean Democrat independent, while 40% said they were Republican or lean Republican independent, pollsters found. That marked the largest lead Democrats had over the GOP since 2012, when the left led the right by 9 points. The survey gained noted. But over the course of that year, 2021, the percentage of those identifying with the left started to decrease while more people began to align themselves with the right. The percentage of Americans who identified as Democrats or lean Democratic independents remained steady at 49% in the second quarter, while more Americans said they were Republican or lead Republican independents, increasing from 40 to 43%. Democrats saw a drop of 4 percentage points in the third quarter, falling to 45%, while Republicans continued to increase, gaining 1 more percentage by the fourth quarter. Sorry, there's so much numbers in that. Sorry about that. By the fourth quarter of last year, more Americans said they identified with the right compared to the left. 47% to 42%. That is huge. And that, in my opinion, is evidence that we are shifting. And the Democrats have not caught up yet. That people want common sense. They want law and order. They don't want inflation. They don't want a government takeover. And I think Republican policies, whether people realize it or not, are becoming more popular because right now they're the party of common sense, basic common sense. Hi, Glenn. And one of the, when you have these stories like Brianna and this 70-year-old nurse and the train tracks, and sorry I keep focusing on Los Angeles, but regular people see these, and the basic, one of the most basic functions of government is to provide people with basic public safety. And when that's gone, people aren't able to live their lives. They're not able to, have their pursuit of happiness, which we're all supposed to have in the United States of America. And when you have cities looking like third world countries, and you have leaders that are saying, like here in Venice Beach, it was so crazy. You have leaders in Venice Beach who basically, if you complain about the homeless population, the open air drug use, you are called a fascist by some of these leaders. So you have these leaders now that are married to their ideology. They are elected into office to be public servants, and they are married to their ideology. They are elected to make people's lives better, to improve the community, and the community keeps failing and failing and failing. And when regular people are like, hey, I don't like this, I'm paying taxes, I don't feel safe, you're being told that you need to be quiet. And I think they are shooting themselves in the foot big time. And hopefully that will be the silver lining of all of this craziness that we're seeing. This is, by the way, they have named the suspect responsible for Brianna Comfort's murder. This was the 24-year-old girl who, by the way, this could have been me in a heartbeat. I'm not in Los Angeles now, but I worked there. This was not very far from where I lived. It could have been you. This could have been anyone. And this girl was someone who was just giving to society, not taking away. Also, the 70-year-old nurse was a nurse for 25 years. Oh, cool. I'll get to that in a second. I just read that comment. This person was a nurse for 25 years, just giving to society, and then some man just took her away like that. She was on her way to work at a bus stop. Union Station, I believe. So anyway, this so they have named the suspect who's responsible for the murder of Brianna, and his name is Sean Laval Smith. This guy, I knew it. 12 mugshots. Now, I don't know the full extent of all of the crimes. 12 mugshots. In 2019, he was released on a $50,000 bond, and it was either North Carolina or South Carolina. And back in October 2021, he was released on $1,000 bail in Los Angeles for a different crime. So this is yet another person who is a career criminal. And again, I'm not sure all of the crimes committed and why he was arrested so many times, but this is clearly somebody that should have not been on the street. 12 mugshots. And this is what Brianna's father said, because he called out some of these policies. He said this on Fox News. We have a lot of politicians that somehow forgot about people and think they are getting elected to support the lowest rung of our society and to give them rights, and somehow that's the answer to getting votes. Crime is truly spiking, and we have a lot of criminals on the streets that shouldn't be out. And now you have yeah. And you have people on the street that have, I mean, this individual, he got caught because they got a really good picture of him. So right after he did this to Brianna, 30 minutes later, he was on surveillance footage in a 7-Eleven buying a vape pen. All cool, like nothing happened. This was clearly an individual who had no regard for life. Zero remorse for what happened, zero regard for life, and someone like that should not be walking on the street. And you have DAs that are putting the rights of criminals at the expense of the rights of law-abiding citizens, and that is not okay. That is not justice. That is not justice reform. But listen to this. So the Eric Siddall is vice president of the Association of Los Angeles Deputy District Attorneys, the collective bargaining agent representing nearly 1,000 deputy district attorneys who work in the county of Los Angeles. He wrote this today. Was it today? Anyway, he recently wrote this. And this is how a lot of district attorneys feel in George Gascon's office. Often questioned by his, and George Gascon, we've talked about him a lot. He's one of those rogue, super progressive DAs that acts more like a public defender than a district attorney, and was funded by, guess who? George Soros. Often questioned about his lack of experience, George Gascon has compared running the district attorney's office to managing an airline. Experience, expertise, they don't matter. What matters, according to Gascon, is his management credentials. And after 1 year, the Gascon administration does feel a bit like a domestic airline. Terrible service, no trust, low employee morale, chaotic, the feeling of being abandoned. Los Angeles has increasingly become unsafe, yet the DA has no plan to confront his problem. Between 2019 to 2021, gun-related homicides have increased 63% in Los Angeles County. Instead of combating this surge by using state-authorized gun penalties, Gascon orders his prosecutors not to. Less than 24 hours after the brutal murder of an elderly woman by a felon with a gun, he sent out a fundraising letter touting his commitment to eliminating gun enhancements. The surge in gun crimes is a part of a parcel of a broader surge in gang violence. Yet, not only has Gascon directed his prosecutors not to file gang conduct enhancements, but he eliminated half of the division's prosecutors. He diverted the group of attorneys with the deepest expertise on gangs to units designed to speed up the release of violent convicts. In December of 2021, Union Pacific, a critical player of the fragile U.S. supply system, sent a letter to Gascon. They implored him to reconsider his policies that have resulted in a 160% increase in rail theft in Los Angeles County. Typical to Gascon's management approach, no response. Classic airline management. It is now being reported that Union Pacific is examining an alternative routes to avoid having to rely on the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office. Welcome to Hollywood. So that's how a lot of district attorneys in his office feel. Now, when they are in office, they take an oath that they have to respect the directives of the elected official. And it's unfortunate, but a lot of them are really unhappy, and their morale is really low because they are there for the victims and to prosecute crime, and they're not able to do that at the fullest extent and the appropriate extent to keep people off the streets. Hollywood. And that even Union Pacific, the train station, said that. They said, yeah, we have this, and someone pointed out on one of my videos, well, Union Pacific, they have their own security. They sort of have their own little law enforcement. Yeah, but they're having to spend even more money on it, $5 million to be exact, on extra security measures. And when they're arresting these individuals, they're out the next day doing the same thing. It's like playing a giant game of whack-a-mole. You whack the mole down and one more pops right back up. It's exhausting. But again, the silver lining is, I think these things are going to wake people up, and it's unfortunate, but sometimes it has to come to your doorstep. And listen to this. This is one of the most outrageous things I have ever in my life read. It was asked, is someone clearing up the debris from the trains? I think they are. Let's see. And the thing is, this has been going on for a while. Caitlyn Jenner called out wokeness today on Fox News. Let's see what Caitlyn Jenner said. Oh, I don't see it up yet. I'll have to look at that later. Well, good. No, but this is how insane wokeness is going. The window is closing, people. The Overton window is closing because of this. This is an opinion piece out of the San Francisco Chronicle. Want true equity? I propose modestly forcing California parents to swap children. If California is ever going to achieve true equity, the state must require parents to give away their children. And remember what equity is, people. You have equality of opportunity, and then you have equality of outcome. By the way, America was built on equality of opportunity. Communism is built on equality of outcome. And to achieve true equity, you have to take away from some. That is not fair. And the thing about, they keep trying to give, and an example of equity would be like taking away the advanced programs in school because some kids aren't doing very well. That takes away from the kids that are doing very well. And you know what really bothers me? Just because you don't excel academically, that doesn't mean that you don't excel at other things. I never excelled when I was in school academically at all. I was bored out of my mind. It's hard for me to focus on things that I'm not interested in, but I have excelled at many other things. We don't all have to excel at the same things. We all have inherent privileges, and we all have things that, like, I will never be a supermodel. One, I'm too old, and two, I'm short. So it doesn't matter if I want to be that, I won't. But there's other things that I can do. I didn't, for instance, I had the body type when I was younger to be a ballerina. I didn't have the body type to be a supermodel. Or that was a really bad, really, really bad example, but you get what I'm saying. We all have strengths and we all have weaknesses, and when we're all trying to get the same strength, that doesn't work. But true equity means that you have to take away from some people. I can't believe this was even written. Today's Californians often hold up equity. Boo. The idea of a just society completely free from bias as our greatest value. Governor Gavin Newsom says he makes decisions through an equity lens. Institutions from dance ensembles to tech companies have publicly pledged themselves to equity along with diversity and inclusion. But their promises of newly equitable systems are no match for the power of parents. And this was where that Overton window shifted in Virginia, because they overstepped their boundaries. They officially jumped the shark and went after parents and said, you don't get to have a say in what your kid is taught in school. And by the way, my opinion, schools have stopped teaching a long time ago. I think they teach kids to be little compliant beings of the state, and they don't teach them to be independent thinkers. That's my opinion. And I think I was lucky. I got the last of actually having a decent, even though I hated school, a decent education where I was taught to actually think for myself. It says, fathers and mothers with greater wealth, education, or other resources are more likely to transfer these advantages to their children, compounding privilege over generations. As a result, children of less advantaged parents face an uphill struggle. Social mobility has stalled and democracy has been corrupted. More Californians are giving up on the dream. A recent Public Policy Institute of California poll found declining belief in the notion that you can get ahead through hard work. My solution is simple, and while we wait for the legislation to pass, oh, you're serious, we can act now. The rich should give their children to the poor, and the poor should give their children to the rich. Homeowners might swap children with their homeless neighbors. So you should swap your child with your homeless neighbor. Now, I recognize that some naysayers hopelessly attached to their privilege, will dismiss such policy as ghastly, even totalitarian. But my proposal is quite modest, a fusion of traditional philosophy and today's most common political obsessions. Wow. Today, universal orphanhood aligns with powerful social trends that point to less interest in family. Californians are slower to marry and are having fewer children. Our state's birth rate is at an all-time low. Survey also suggests that many of us are breaking off ties with family members who don't share our politics. These people are like morally lost. Yeah. But my proposal would be unifying, fitting hand in glove with the most cherished policies of progressives and Trumpians alike. Here it is. The left's indoctrination of anti-racism and gender identity in schools faces a bitter backlash from parents. Ending parenthood would end the backlash. Helping dismantle white supremacy and outdated gender norms. Okay, that's the most I'm going to go down that rabbit hole. But these are the type of ideas that are pushing people to be Republican. And one of my favorite quotes is, no matter how bad you have it, there's someone that had it worse than you and made it. I know plenty of people that came from nothing and made something of themselves. And that's the beauty of living in a country like America. You can do that. You can grow up poor with nothing and you can become a millionaire. You can become, or whatever your idea of success is. Success doesn't always mean money to me. It means living a happy, fulfilled life. Where you have good friends, you have a good family, you're living out a passion, whatever that is. And a lot of people, in my opinion, a lot of these like equity people and people that are pushing these ideas, these are miserable people that are not happy in their own lives, and they're trying to make other people miserable with them. That's what I think this is. And now we've created this political climate where they can actually use their misery, push it onto others, and call it social justice. I don't know if you heard about, where was this? Yeah, meet the Seattle schools woke indoctrination czar who married somebody who did bad things to children. This is a woman who was, she was like the chief equity officer at the forefront of Seattle public schools. She was the director of ethnic studies, who said that she overcame homelessness and was willing to take on racism no matter who she had to battle, turning schools into vehicles for social change. So this is one of those people that basically wanted to indoctrinate kids and is pushing ideas like equity and critical race theory onto kids. Well, this is clearly a disturbed individual, and just one more example of how these people are miserable people and they're morally bankrupt and they just want to make other people miserable. So first of all, this publication, this was in the Daily Wire. It was in a few other areas as well. This publication actually interviewed her father, and she was not honest about her childhood. Her father said she wasn't homeless and she wasn't a troubled teen. She actually grew up in a middle class home. But this person knowingly wed someone that did bad things to children, and she had a 4-year-old at the time, and was told, he cannot be in the same home as your child. So I don't know where her child went, but she basically moved out with her child and then moved in with him. I don't know if the child was with the biological father. Who did the child stay with? But this is the type of person that pushes these ideas. And regular people are not going to have it. That's why I think that window is closing, and that is exactly what happened in Virginia. That is exactly why Glenn Youngkin is now the governor. I wish I could have seen this. I wish I could have seen this Caitlyn Jenner interview. I wonder. I wonder if it's on, it might not even be on YouTube yet. It was a great one. Well, I didn't see it. It's not up yet. Oh, I saw that. A lot of people are. So a lot of people are starting to drop these restrictions. Starbucks just rolled back its check the 11 executive actions Youngkin signed on day one. I did see one of it. I will say, like, I think he did a lot of good things. My favorite thing that he did for CRT was that he made the materials that children are being taught transparent. There was a little bit of language that was I thought was missing out of his CRT executive order. One of the main things that people will teach, you can say you're not teaching CRT while teaching people that America is still inherently racist. But the good news is that they're making teaching materials transparent to parents, and I think parents are getting smarter and they know what to look for. Okay, while that's searching, Alec Baldwin, I'm sorry, I have to talk about. I can't help myself. He's I don't know what he needs to just stop talking. I don't know what he's doing. He's being sued, but not who you think would be suing him. That transgender swimmers should not compete against women. No, it's not fair. I think the NCAA, who has been silent and everything, needs to rethink their rules. It's clearly not fair. It's clearly not fair. You need just eyeballs to see that that's clearly unfair. And Michael Phelps recently came out and say he said it without saying it, but he says he thinks the NCAA needs to look at this and make sure that there's a level playing field for everyone. You can't have fair sports without a level playing field. Caitlyn said in the meeting tomorrow they need to change the rules. Good. You know, sometimes Caitlyn Jenner has worried me, like, it's gone back and forth a little bit. And also remember that Caitlyn Jenner got Woman of the Year the first year that Caitlyn identified as a woman. Let's see, NCAA. Okay, listen to this. It's searching on that right now. Listen to this. Alec Baldwin. Again, I'm telling you. Caitlyn said that wokeness says you can't speak up. It does say you can't speak up in every facet of wokeness. If you speak up, you are. I made a joke on Twitter today, and I said I was gonna start just making up my own words and calling anyone that doesn't subscribe to my language that I made up a fascist. Because it's basically what they do. They will slander you and shut you down if you speak up against any of their ideals, because that's how married they are to their ideals. Just like what's happening in Venice Beach, you have a Councilman Mike Bonin, who, unfortunately, the recall against him didn't go through. But if you complain about the open air drug use, about being afraid to walk in your neighborhood because of all the crime that's happening due to the increased homeless population that has gotten worse under his watch, and due to his policies, you are shut down. You are called a fascist. The same with the women. If you speak out against a male being in a woman's private space, or a biological male competing in a woman's sports, you are called phobic. and your character is slandered. And it's really sad, especially when it comes to women, because how is this not misogynistic? And where are all the feminists? The only feminists that will speak up are radical feminists. But all of the Women's March feminists, they're all quiet. None of them say anything. Does it have a sticker on the I thought it had a sticker on the bottom of it. The cancel crowd went from banning social opinions to banning medical opinions. Yeah. Okay, so Alec Baldwin was in the news again. And I was reading this and I was like, oh, he did something nice. And then this happened. So it says the family of a Marine killed in Afghanistan during the Biden administration's chaotic troop withdrawal has sued Alec Baldwin for defamation, claiming the actor falsely accused the servicemen's grieving relatives of being insurrectionists. So what happened? So Riley McCollum, 20 years old, out of Wyoming, was one of the 13 service members who was killed in Afghanistan. So Alec Baldwin actually found one of his sisters on Instagram and he sent her a check for $5,000. And that was for his widow and their newborn daughter. And was it a daughter and her newborn? Okay, so after this happened, she posted a picture on her Instagram. Keep in mind, this is a private citizen. She posted a picture on her Instagram where she was, and it was right before January 6th, where she was at the Capitol. But she wasn't there on that day, and she didn't do anything on that day. It was just a picture of her at the Capitol. This is what he did. So she posted an image on her page on January 1st ahead of the 1-year anniversary of what happened on the U.S. Capitol. She intended a demonstration in support of Trump, but was not involved in the riots and was never accused of any of the mayhem during this time. So she wasn't there when all this stuff went down. She was just around the area, and she was a supporter of Donald Trump. And he sent her this. Are you the same woman I sent the money for your sister's husband who is now killed during the Afghanistan exit? Baldwin reportedly wrote on Royce's Instagram post from his account according to the complaint. When I sent the money for your late brother out of respect for his service to the country, I didn't know you were a January 6th rioter, he wrote in a message. It's insanity. So they are now suing him, and included in the lawsuit were the screenshots of the actor's messages, one of which showed Baldwin accusing her of being a January 6th rioter. The sister pushed back at the actor, telling him that protesting is legal in the U.S. and that she had already been interviewed. He said, your activities resulted in the unlawful destruction of government property, the death of a law enforcement officer, an assault on the certification of the presidential election. I reposted your photo. Good luck, Baldwin wrote back. According to the lawsuit, he also reposted her photo on his Instagram account, which has 2.4 million followers, and mentioned her involvement in the January 6th protests. Royce was soon hit with hostile, aggressive, hateful messages from his followers, including one that said really bad things. I'm not even going to read that out loud, but you get the point. Baldwin also allegedly misidentified Creighton as an insurrectionist in an Instagram comment, although she was not in D.C. that day. People then began sending hateful and threatening messages. Some users also called on Baldwin to get a refund of the money he donated to the family. Baldwin's conduct was negligent and reckless, as he should have known that making the allegations he did against the plaintiff to his millions of followers, that it would cause the plaintiff's harm. And keep in mind, for that is defamation, and she is a private citizen. I think it's worth noting too that his social media following is 5 times the population of your state. Either he knew what would happen and he wanted it to happen, or he just didn't think about it. The plaintiffs, the McAuliffe sisters, Royce and Cheyenne, and his widow, are seeking damages of at least $25 million for alleged defamation, invasion of privacy, negligence, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Holy cow. So that's what's happening with Alec Baldwin. Like, why can't keep your mouth shut? And this is not a good look for him, given everything that's happening in his world at the moment. Sorry, I just had to share that with you. It's unbelievable. And these people lost their brother, and there's a widow, and he was in Afghanistan serving his country. Keep your mouth shut, and he was completely wrong about what happened. He also talked about the insurrection in one of his Instagram videos, which was very odd. He's somebody that, in my opinion, is quite unhinged. And this just goes to show that a lot of leftist politics, it gives people an excuse to be the true bully that they are inside, under the guise of virtue. But again, the good news is the good news is Baldwin not thinking about things seems to be his go-to. Like yeah. Very very much so. And again, the silver lining is that the Republican Party is getting more popular because of things like that. I want to see if there is any updates with Brianna, because I've been checking to see. NYC pusher charged with second-degree murder. Oh, good. I think it was her mom. Was her name was Michelle Go? Am I correct? Yeah, her mom was on TV calling out the surge in crime as well, and even there was this 16-year-old. Juan, hello Sarah, thanks for speaking the truth. Thank you so much, Juan. That is very sweet. Juan Morales, thank you very much. Giuliani and a couple other in Trump's team were subpoenaed yesterday. Oh, interesting, Braxton. I didn't know that. Baldwin ignores the advice that the best thing to do when you're digging your own grave is to stop. It is so fascinating. I've seen this with so many people yesterday, and I think it's because a lot of celebrities are so they're narcissistic. They can't help themselves. They can't help that people might have a negative view of them. So they it's like they keep trying to fix the narrative, or they keep trying to get public sympathy for themselves because they cannot take not being in charge of their own image, and they just keep making it worse. Yeah, Michelle Go. So that is the person, that's the girl that was shoved. on the train tracks in New York City, and her mom also called out all of the crime that's happening. Remake Alec Baldwin and Perry Mason in the case of the shootings. Oh, here's an update. Okay, so we were just talking about Glenn Youngkin. Do you guys know who Christopher Rufo is? He's sort of a lead in this fight against CRT. He's done a lot of really good stuff, and he's actually out there getting results. But this is what he said, and I think this is very good. Okay, that was her name. Yeah, Michelle Go. Her mom was speaking out recently, and just like Brianna's father, they're calling out the rise in crime and politicians not holding people accountable. I still think that I think it was a perfect storm of a lot of things, and I still think that the George Floyd riots, and you can ask people in LA that lived sort of in the area that I lived during those riots. I think just that alone, a lot of people were emboldened, because they went out and they were maybe committing crimes that they haven't before, and they're like, oh, well, that was easy. Hi, Val. Okay, so this is breaking from well, I don't know if it's breaking. Maybe you knew this. This is from Virginia. So we were just talking about Glenn Youngkin, and this makes me feel better. So this is from Christopher Rufo. He is like one of the leaders nationally in fighting CRT in schools, and he says Glenn Youngkin has asked all of the state's DEI employees to resign. DEI is diversity, equity, inclusion, which we know what that really means. So he has asked all of the state's DEI employees to resign and tapped anti-critical race theory leader Angela Saylor to lead the department. In her first move, this is good news. Okay, this makes me happy because I told you I was a little bit worried about that executive order, that it wasn't specific enough. Saylor eliminated the word equity and replaced it with opportunity. Wow. Okay, here's what it says. Within the cabinet, Saylor's title will be Chief Diversity, Opportunity, and Inclusion Officer. I love that. Swapping the word equity for opportunity. Former Governor Ralph Northam created the state's Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in 2019 after the aftermath. He did this after. See, there's always other reasons behind it. It's never just because I'm a good person. It's usually like, don't look over here. Former Governor Ralph Northam created the state's Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion in 2019 in the aftermath of the blackface scandal that nearly ended his term. The office has been unstaffed since its former chief and her 4 staffers who served at will of the governor were not asked to stay in their jobs. Heck yeah. Christopher Rufo says, exactly. But maybe they'll make it into. So Christopher Rufo says, my recommendation: abolish the DEI department entirely and replace it with an MEO department promoting merit, excellence, and opportunity. This is ultimately a war of values, and most Americans prefer a system of individual rights and achievement, not neo-Marxist equity. Help me think of a good acronym for a DEI alternative that promotes merit, equality, colorblindness, excellence, achievement, and individual rights. Drop your suggestions in the comments. I think this is really, really good. Yeah, Youngkin had a big scandal. And that's usually this stuff. How dare you start without me? Hi, Kelly. How are you? We've been here for a while. It's usually like even all of this. You know, it's so funny. Okay, none of you know what you're talking about. It's usually this equity stuff. It's usually a cover up for something else. It's usually like it's just somebody saying I'm not the R word. Don't look over here. They went from equal opportunity to quotas and equities. It's a sleight of hand. Yeah, and they make equity sound so good. But really, to achieve equity, I know I've said this a bazillion times, to achieve equity, you have to take away from someone else. And that San Francisco opinion piece, I mean, it doesn't get more ridiculous than this. This is, the left is eating itself. And Kelly, what we were talking about earlier was, I think what was it? The Overton window is starting to close. The Overton window is it's sort of like what's trendy in politics, and to a lot of Democrats, what was trendy, like what politicians will it's what politicians will campaign on, what they think people will vote on, and that can shift. And I think the Overton window for a while was for progressives was all of this like equity, diversity, and inclusion, CRT, you know, light on crime, pro criminal, anti victim. It was all of these things. And they frame it in a way that sounds really good. They say, well, you're voting, don't you want criminal justice reform? Like, don't you want our kids to know history? And that's the way they frame all these things. But now we're actually seeing, I just learned it today. Look it up. It's actually kind of fascinating. And you can see like politicians over time will sort of shift what they're for. For instance, Joe Biden used to be tough on crime. He signed the 1994 crime bill, and that bill was actually very it was incredibly supported by the Black Caucus. They actually wanted them to be tougher on crime because they recognized that it was a lot of the lower income communities that were hurting the most, especially with the crack epidemic and all of that. So Joe Biden signed the 1994 crime bill, and now he's sort of pro-criminal. He's shifted because the Democrats think that this is what the people want, and maybe they did. Maybe they heard it in the campaign and they were like, wow, that sounds really good. But now we're seeing how these policies actually play out. And unfortunately, in Los Angeles, we saw that with all the images of the train and all of the boxes just littering the sides of the train. They said up to 90 containers, which are like train cars, were robbed a day. And then what they don't want, they just discard on the train tracks. And now it might affect the supply chain in Los Angeles. It puts people's safety at risk, unfortunately, with what happened with Brianna Kupfer, the 24-year-old who was just murdered while working her part-time job. There was a 70-year-old who was shoved at a train station and she died from her injuries. People are seeing this stuff and they don't like it. And I think there's a silver lining in all of that, and hopefully the silver lining is we will go back to common sense politics. I saw footage of the mess they left behind discussed. Yeah, it looks like a third world country. It is a third world country. That is what a third world country looks like. It absolutely is a third world country. But I think it's going to start shifting. And I noticed that in California, and a lot of people were really upset that the recall didn't happen. But I noticed that a lot of people were shifting their opinion under the regime of Gavin Newsom. And they tried to frame it as a Republican recall, but it wasn't. There were a lot of Democrats that didn't want him to be the governor and that saw how bad the situation in California was getting. And now, did you guys know this? California is talking about doubling the taxes because they want to do universal health care that will give illegal immigrants free health care, and it will basically double some people's taxes. Yeah, I don't think that's going to go well with the already disappearing middle class in California. I thought it was close. I really did. And I mean, it was just so disgraceful. Gavin Newsom, 5G causing flights to cancel. I saw that. Hi, Masta. Oh, lots of people are joining now. Maybe I'll stay on longer than. I'm scared to touch that. I'm not going to do that. Lyndon B. Johnson persuaded Black Americans to vote blue in the 1950s. I think California has the highest income tax out of any state. And when you talk about tax the rich, they do tax the rich more. If you make over a certain income, you pay almost 50% of your income in taxes. But it was so unbelievable to, if you subscribe to the idea of white privilege, is Gavin Newsom not the epitome of that? I mean, come on. He is the epitome of privilege. And he really got away with insinuating that you are the R word if you're voting for Larry Elder, a man whose dad actually did deal with segregation and he did deal with racial discrimination, and he came up from nothing, was a janitor. Larry Elder, I believe he grew up in South Central LA, and Gavin Newsom had the nerve, and then the LA Times had the nerve to call Larry Elder the blackface of white supremacy. Like, you can't get more clown world than that. But there are people, again, they're so married to their ideology, they're not going to look at that from a critical lens. I mean, there's people, this is how bad it is. So, this is how just morally corrupt we are. So, Breonna Kupfer, they identified her, the suspect, in her murder, and they were putting out a wanted poster for him, basically. And what's really great is that the just regular private citizens donated $200,000 as a reward for anyone that can get him caught, and the city itself put up $50,000. So there is a $250,000 reward if someone could help and get him caught. Which I thought it was really cool that the private citizens did that. So on the poster, it identifies him. His name is Sean Levin Smith, I believe. Where is he? So they identified him, and the infuriating thing is this guy had 12 mugshots. 12 mugshots. They identified him, and on his poster, it says that he is homeless. And in some of the news outlets also reported him being homeless. They believe him to be homeless. And people will just really think about this for a second. Actually sit with this and think about this. People in the comment section of some of these news outlets were more upset at the fact that they identified him as homeless than they were at the actual crime. This is how backwards we are. Like, really think about that. They are describing this vicious, awful crime, and they are more concerned with the descriptor of the criminal than they were at the actual crime. And what they were saying is, well, people that have homes, the housed commit crimes too. The housed commit. Why is it necessary to say that? Well, first of all, as someone who was a resident of Los Angeles, I want to know. And the reason I want to know is because a large part of our homeless population, a lot of them are mentally ill. A lot of them use drugs out in the open, and they're in a state of psychosis, and that's why they just attack random people. So I want to know. I also want to know because a lot of that population isn't even from California. So these are people coming to California, and the reason they're flocking to California is because we don't prosecute low-level crimes, so they can live in a tent, they can do whatever substance they want to do, and no one will bother them. And if they do get arrested, they will be let out the same day. So yeah, I do want to know, and I want to know where he's from and why he's in Los Angeles. Because of these policies, people flock to areas like Venice Beach or Los Angeles or San Francisco, because they know they can get away with it. They made a haven for these people. I think it was in Venice Beach, it was estimated that about 75% of the people living in tents in Venice Beach are not from Venice Beach. A lot of them are not even from California. So when you are creating policies that cause people to flock to a state, do drugs, commit crimes, yeah, I want to know if that person is homeless, because that is important, and that does have to do with policy. That's just me. So yeah, I want to know that, and I think that is important. Sarah, did they clean up Venice Beach anymore? Yes, they did, but I think it was more directed at the boardwalk. So there's still a lot of issues happening in Venice Beach. The boardwalk is cleaner. I don't know about the side streets. Let's see. Let's see. It looks like it's better. I mean, they definitely still have issues. Okay, well, this is from September. It says, Venice Beach Boardwalk is clear. Businesses say tourists are coming back. So I do think, and when I went to visit over the summer, the boardwalk was clear. There were still some scary individuals walking up and down the boardwalk in certain areas, but I was surprised because there, even before the pandemic, I used to walk down the Venice Beach Boardwalk every single day. I would walk to work because I worked down there, and there was one area at the very end of the boardwalk that was always bad. I mean, it was tent city, and that was gone. But I think they still have an issue with like the side streets and people living in vans. I was shocked. The last time I went to California, I was shocked with how many, because that had definitely increased. I was shocked with how many vans were on the side of the road. It was disgusting. I know you'll think I'm crazy, but I even looked at an apartment around Venice Beach, and I did the street view. Mwah. Thank you so much, Kelly. That's really sweet. Thank you. I appreciate it. I was looking at an apartment around Venice Beach, and then I did the street view, and I'm like, oh, that's why it's not very expensive. There's a van right outside of it. So you have to check for that too. The van's just on the side of the streets. Hi, Max. How are you? More people are leaving Cali, and they might double the taxes to make up for the loss. Yeah, that's a good point, Max. So many people have left, and so many big businesses have left. And, the top 1%, if you have them continuing to leave, they make up a lot of the income tax. A van with darked out windows. Yeah, they have darked out windows. And there is something, I don't know if you guys know about this. Oh, and this is another thing I learned. This is interesting. And this is also why I want to know if someone is homeless. So there was a website. I cannot for the life of me remember the name of the website. Darn. But it was basically a website for vagrants, and it was a map of the United States, and it showed you everywhere you could go across the United States where they don't enforce certain laws. So it showed where you could go and park your van on the street and no one would bother you. You wouldn't have to move it. And Venice Beach was one of those places. I can't freaking remember the name of the website. But yeah, it was one of those places. So a lot of people, they will live in their vans, and they have something called van lords. So you'll have someone that puts a bunch of vans maybe on a block, and he will rent those out like an apartment landlord. There's a Baywatch. There is a Joe Biden press conference in an hour. That will be interesting. Van life, the future of America. It's not the glamorous van life that you see on like Instagram. Yeah, here we go. Van Lord. Meet the man getting Venice's homeless off the streets. Yeah, I don't look at it quite that way. Van Lord Gary Gallery is doing his part to combat homelessness. Yeah, that's not how I see it. Sorry. He's renting out vans to homeless people between $150 and $300 a month. So you can get a van if you want to live in Venice Beach. You can get a van for $150 to $300 a month. No, thank you. What did you say about Santa Barbara? Hold on, Santa Barbara what? Homelessness in Santa Barbara? So, uh, Starbucks is one of the ones that suspended their vaccine mandate, and people were trying to cancel Starbucks. I'm actually surprised because they seem more of kind of, I view them as kind of a woke corporation. Where was that story? Yeah, Starbucks cancels their vaccine mandate after Supreme Court ruling. New Gallup poll, Biden at 40% approval. I have to visit Cali someday before it falls into the ocean. Wish I could stay, but gotta go. Did you hear UK ended their COVID? Yes, I did. And I think the Supreme Court had a really good ruling, and Starbucks is now backing down. Of course, that really upsets liberals because they want to control everything. I clearly don't know if this is true. This was just, I was talking to a friend, but I have heard, people in healthcare say that we shouldn't be treating the unpoked. And her friend was a nurse, and of course, I don't know if this is true. This is just something that she told me, so take it lightly. This isn't news. This is just chit chatting. But a friend of hers is a nurse and says that when she has people that come and get tested for what, she sticks, because you have to stick the little cotton swab off your nose. She sticks it up there a little bit harder. And it's stuff like that. Again, take that for what it is. That's not, I don't know if that's true, clearly. But I have heard healthcare people say, or people just in general say, oh, we shouldn't be treating people that aren't poked. Oh, is there an Eva sighting? Oh, there she is. Yeah. She was snoring. I didn't know cats snored. She was snoring. It was annoying. But that just goes to show you, like, it's clearly about control. And it's because they view those people as more than likely a Republican. It's all about control. Because why wouldn't you have the same opinion as someone who is a chain smoker? Or someone who is morbidly obese? Someone who is... I don't understand. It is clearly about control. It always has been. Yeah, here you go. This is Libs of TikTok. I hope this teacher gets in trouble. This teacher was caught on camera taping a mask to a student's face. Apparently they're having a school board meeting because of that, so that will be interesting. People are crazy. Rumor has it that the left want to put us in camps. I saw that video a while back. Oh, here's the statement. So this is North Penn School District. An image taken in one of our classrooms last week and circulating on social media does not represent the universal values of Penn School District strives to instill on our students and staff. After an immediate investigation, it was determined that while the incident was isolated and no malice was intended, the actions of the teacher were entirely inappropriate and unacceptable, no matter what context. You think? See, again, this is an excuse for people to impose their crazy on others in the name of virtue. And these are usually just very not okay people. We understand that the act of taping a mask to a student's face is concerning to many. Yep. The matter is serious and being addressed with the employee. However, all personnel and student matters are confidential. Okay. Wow. Yeah, this really broke a lot of people. It's going to be really funny in a few years when we go back to normal. People are going to realize how crazy they were. Virginia feeling a little more free. Oh, I see her. No, I don't. Yes. And how cool is it that I get to be... I agree, Glenn. Read Glenn's comment. I agree. It does. I think it's a good sign. And what happened, they overstepped their boundaries, I think. They jumped the shark. They went after the parents. Yeah, when we go back to normal, I think a lot of people are going to realize how insane they were and how broken they were and paranoid. What's that saying? Good times create weak men. Weak men create hard times create strong men. So hopefully we will come back full circle. My mom thinks the madness will never end. I think with some people maybe with some people it won't. Maybe they are permanently broken. And a good, nice man can also be a dangerous... Oh, there's Kitty. Eva. Eva. Are you guarding me? Sometimes she sits there and she guards me. Mark Stossel's YouTube channel. He does great content. I'll check that out. Guarding, you mean stalking. I actually don't think the crazy people will ever recognize how crazy they're being. Or they'll be like, nothing happened over here. Oh, John Stossel's YouTube channel. Okay, I'll check that out. Eva. She was a little bitey a minute ago. I'll try to get her in a minute. Hello, Daniel. My cat drools. Well, the CEO of Rex is moving his business from California to Texas over Texas. Oh, wow. I didn't know that. A lot of people, this was the first year that California. What's your take? Okay. Okay, someone just said they're making a movie about Weird Al Yankovic with Harry Potter playing Weird Al. I support that message. Also, someone just asked, do I think that Biden will be running in 2024? No, I really don't. I know some people think I don't know. And I think Kamala Harris hates her job. I think she absolutely hates her job. And it was not what she thought it was going to be. And she doesn't like to prepare. She doesn't like to answer questions. I did see that she was heading down to South America. I don't think Biden will live to see 2024. I don't think he's running. He actually said in one interview, I think it was like a little slip, but he was asked if he was going to run again, and he said something like, "Don't tempt me." And that usually indicates to me that he wasn't planning on running. She just seems like she hates her job. I think maybe she thought, I think, I clearly have no idea. I'm just speculating. I think when she was handed over the border thing, that really screwed her up, and I don't think she knew what to do, and that really, I think that really hurt her image, and I think it made her mad. I think she just kind of wanted to be there to do like the fun, cool stuff and didn't want to actually do anything hard, if that makes sense. And I don't think she expected to have that task handed down to her. But apparently she's going to Kamala Harris. Is she going to South America today or Central America? Let me find. I can tell Hillary is going to run. I think she's going to run too. And what was being said about Hillary is because she thought she would be popular. Yes, I agree, Kelly. I think she thought she was going to be popular. I think she thought that people were going to fawn over her, and that's not happening. And I think she's really mad. She might, who knows? And what is this? She still has not visited. Has she run to the border? No, because she hasn't visited because it would be a bad photo op. She doesn't want bad press. She wants to be hailed as Kamala Harris, the first woman vice president. Oh my gosh, we love her. She, I don't know, she wants to be on the cover of magazines or something. Even her staff said she doesn't prepare for anything. And you can clearly tell. And the questions she's asked, many times, they're not hardball questions. Even when she's asked about the border, they're questions that you would be expected asked. And she has the worst, most unprepared answers, and she just does her awkward laugh. And she was someone that is deeply unpopular with even Democrats. And that's one of the reasons they started touting out Hillary Clinton's name, because they don't really have a good front runner for the Democratic Party at this point. And because of how deeply unpopular Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are, I don't think they're going to even want them to run again. I mean, look at Stacey Abrams in Georgia. When Biden went down to make his speech about the voting rights bill, she wasn't even there. She said she had a scheduling issue. This is my personal opinion, but I don't buy that for a second. I think it's because Stacey Abrams is going to try to run again, and she does not want to be on the stage with Joe Biden. That's just my little opinion. And I do not like Stacey Abrams, but I don't blame her. And Kamala Harris, she's too unpopular to run for president. So they're touting the idea of Hillary coming in as being like the person of change. But also, like, I don't know if Hillary loses again, I don't know if she's going to be able to take it, like, emotionally. I don't think she would be able to handle that. And how funny. And, Trump recently had his rally in Arizona and talked about running again in 2024. Could you imagine if it was Hillary against Trump again? The media is already drooling over Hillary. Yeah. No. Make it stop. Make it go away. Actually, it would be entertaining, I will say. It would be very entertaining if she ran again. But she also, to me, she's very unlikable. And there's a lot of Democrats that don't like her. They see her as, and again, this is just what people see her as. They see her as a criminal. A lot of people really do not like. I don't think she's a very likable politician either. Kelly said, I can't believe the media isn't encouraging Trump to run again. I agree. And CNN, did you see? CNN lost 90% of their viewers. 90% of their viewers they have lost. Trump was their golden egg. Why would they have not wanted him to stay in office? She probably thinks she can beat Trump due to the pandemic. That's a really good point. And I think that's one of the things that was very successful of the Democrats for using him to blame every single person that passed away of it and saying that it was his fault. And I think that was actually really successful. And because I saw people were like, he can never be president. It's all his fault. Yep, and now they're trying to keep blame from, yeah. And no, Eva, you got, I sprayed her. They aren't getting, yeah. And I think too, what really hurt Joe Biden is I think a lot of people thought he was going to be a lot more moderate than what he is. And we just talked about how woke policies and are very deeply unpopular when you put them in practice. And haha, that's woken a lot of Democrats up, and it's not going to be good. So I think, Sarah, did you see the update on no, I didn't. Hold on. No, I didn't spray her. Woke policies lead to crime and inflation. Yes, they do. I didn't really follow this too much. In a rare statement, the justices said that reporting that Justice is that how you say it, Salamer, asked Justice Gore, I'm going to sound like not very smart if I read this, to wear a mask surprised us. It is false. While we may sometimes disagree about the law, we are warm colleagues and friends. The statement came just after the first set of oral arguments Wednesday. Did she ask him to wear a mask while he was away from her? I'm confused. Oh, okay. What is going on with them? What derogatory soundbite will Hillary give us for 2024? Yeah, and I don't like seeing that in politics. I hate it when politicians go after their supporters. I don't like that. Like, go after each other, but don't go after the people. And that's still happening in California. Did you see where the guy in Hawaii got forced out of a Sam's Club physically by cops and explained the Constitution? I will say, I do not want her to ever become the president, and I really can't stand her, but it would be very entertaining if she did run again. Biden will be giving a press conference at 4 p.m. Eastern today. That's in 30 minutes, so you should watch it. All right, you guys, I have to go. I have to get ready to leave. I actually have a voiceover audition to do, and then I have to leave, which I haven't done one in a while. So I have to force myself to do that. We need her to answer the phone at 3 a.m. All right, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and get off. Thank you for joining. For animation. I think it's for a video game, and I'm probably playing a child. I need to look at it, and I need to do it and send it in. New question. Why are they trying to get rid of God? Oh, gosh. I think we need more of Jesus and God. I think that's always a good thing. Okay, thank you so much, you all. I'm going to go live tomorrow night, I think at 8 p.m., but I'll update the comment section during the day if you would like to join. Today is the day to do those. Is it a voiceover for a Hillary puppet? No. Okay, thank you very much, you guys. Have a really good day. Bye, Kelly. Thank you so much. Bye, Daniel. Have a good rest of your afternoon. Okay, thank you so much, you guys. Have a good afternoon. Good night, everyone, and I'll see you hopefully tomorrow night if you want to join. That would be fun. All right, see you later. How do I turn this thing off? I always do that. Bye.